now we will have a presentation by Govik from Sweden, from Bonnier News. And Robin, after 12 years as an editor at Schibsted and Sweden's leading national news source Aftonbladet, he left for Sweden's leading local news source Mittmedia. And at Mittmedia, which is part of the Bonnier News Group, Robin is responsible for the product development team. And he will also give a very interesting presentation, I know because I've seen it before, a case study on using machine learning, how to identify churn, like how to find out how many people leave your product and why they are leaving it. So Robin, if you are ready, we can go ahead.
Thank you. It's really good to be here and see so many creative and committed people in the same room, even if it's a virtual room. So I hope that I can share some insights with you from our battle with subscriber churn. Sweden have a long history of local newspapers, and we still have a strong readership. 64% of the population reads a newspaper, either in print or online every day. Bonnier News Local is the biggest local news publisher in Sweden. We run 42 newspapers and employ 800 journalists, and we have almost 500,000 subscribers. I'm proud to say that we have seen steady digital subscription growth for many years. 35% of our subscribers are digital only. But the numbers could be even stronger. We have had and still have a churn problem. This is the most common way to illustrate churn, like a bucket with holes in it. If your holes are too big, it doesn't matter how much water you will pour. To find new subscribers is essential, but to retain subscribers is even more important since there is only a finite base of subscribers in local news. So to focus on loyalty and reduce churn has been a priority of ours for quite some time. One thing that we had found to be effective was our content strategy. What type of content to produce is directly linked to the number of page views we get. And we could see a correlation between the number of page views from a user and its loyalty. This is pretty obvious. But how much of our churn rate was down to the user experience and the overall service? We asked our data team to help us use machine learning to identify factors that correlate with churn. They are bright people, the type of people who help me with my math homework in school. So, together with the stakeholders, like the subscription department and the editorial department, we decided on what data points could be relevant in the analysis. Subscription data, like payment history, method of conversion and payment methods, user data such as age, gender, behavioral data, like how many articles they read during the last month, and channel data, what device did the user use when reading the news. There are hundreds of data points that could be relevant, but we had to make a selection this first time. After a bit of work, the data team was ready to share their results, and I must confess that some of the results surprised me. And let's look at some factors that had a high correlation with churn. Users who open many mobile push notifications are more likely to churn compared to the average user. And this really surprised me. More on that soon. Users with many past subscriptions are more likely to churn. This didn't surprise me at all. And if you encounter payment error, this is of course very bad user experience and will result in churn. And female users are also a risk from a churn perspective. Some factors that correlate with a lower risk to churn are if you have read more articles, if you're a past paper subscriber, if you click and open many images in the articles, if you subscribe via campaign rather than if you convert from the article paywall, and if you're a subscriber via Apple in-app purchase, you have significantly lower risk of churning. As I said, the effect of mobile push notifications really surprised me. In our apps, users can subscribe to push notifications from all kinds of topics, such as breaking news, news within geographical areas or specific subjects. The group who have received and opened at least 20 notifications tend to cancel their subscriptions earlier than those who have received fewer. This was a controversial finding when we shared it with the newsroom, but this does not mean that push notifications are bad, but maybe could we take this insight as an opportunity to review how and how many push notifications we send and see if we can make them more valuable to our users. We also have a gender issue. The research shows that we can't retain our female subscribers. After a couple of months, there are a 10% higher risk that female subscribers cancel their subscription compared to male subscribers. One theory is that this is due to our strong focus on sports journalism, which we can see attracts mainly male readers. We can also see women are underrepresented in texts and choice of topic in our articles. As I told you, we have work to be done on mobile push notifications, but apps are not all bad. It's actually the opposite. Users who read more articles in the apps have significantly longer subscriptions. And the more articles you read, the more likely you are to continue to pay your monthly subscription bill. You often hear that the first 100 days are critical, and that was true when looking at our churn model. We must get our users to become loyal, and we now know what a really loyal user looks like. Have a look at this. If we compare our most loyal users and our risky users, so on the left side here, you see the users that our model has predicted have a 90% risk of churning. And on the right side, we have our most loyal subscribers, the users with 10% risk of churning. First, let's look at social media. If you consume our product in our own platform, you're less likely to churn. Our most loyal users, they watch 246 minutes of video on our websites per month. And we broadcast a lot of sports games, so this is reflected here. The loyal subscribers, they use the mobile app to read 78% of the articles, compared to the risky users who don't use the app at all. 29% of the loyal users have disabled push notifications. And this is pretty interesting, actually. We have a toggle in our app where you can choose to show less sports content. We developed this feature since many of our users complain that we have too many sports articles, while some users seem to think that we don't write enough hockey articles. However, 43% of our loyal users have activated the sports filter. And low-risk subscribers, they use Apple AirPlay, where you can cast your video content from a mobile device to a television screen. Loyal users have also more active devices than risky users. We think that this is a sign that the account is used by more than one individual. We don't like users sharing their accounts, but we don't like churn either. So this is a pretty difficult question, how to act on that. There are, of course, many further opportunities on how we can take advantage of the churn model and continue to improve the churn model. We could add more data points or segment the users, perhaps look at how newsletters affect churn risk. We could build dashboards or automated reports to newsrooms on the churn risks. We could build products where we use the churn model as a trigger. For instance, if a user has 80% or more risk of churning, we could automatically give them a personalized offer. Machine learning is an area where we have seen great advances the last few years. So I want to finish the presentation by giving you 3 areas to work on if you want to build your own churn model. Number 1 is data strategy. You have to ask yourself, do you own your own data? Is the data easily accessible? Is it structured in a way that makes it usable? if you don't have the data, there's nothing to analyze. Data is a core function that Bonnier News has made a priority, and all Bonnier News brands share the same data platform. But the data platform is just a technology stack. You always need to combine that with people up for the task. And Bonnier News data team is one of our biggest assets, man and machine together. There's some discussion in Sweden whether you can afford to employ machine learning specialists. Of course, there are some instances where it's smarter to hire machine learning consultants. But for me, this type of competence is a strategic investment. We need smart people rather than smart systems. And the last one, organization. To work with digital product management is different than working with the old print business. You probably need to make big changes in your organization to reflect this. I would say that finding a good process and stakeholder organization is the hardest part of machine learning. There are, of course, cultural factors involved. A heated discussion between a data engineer and an editor can be really interesting to observe, but also sometimes really destructive if you don't understand each other's roles. So I hope that I have given you some insights in the capabilities of machine learning and how to use them within a media organization.
Thank you, Robin. It was really very interesting and useful. I have already immediately a question. When you compiled this first data and came out with first conclusions, what was the response from editorial? Was it easy or hard to convince people in editorials that they should change something in content, for example, producing more content for women audience?
It is always difficult when talking about data with the newsroom, because I come from the newsroom originally as well. So we have to let go of our perhaps what we think that we know and be open to data to see that, okay, this is what the data shows. How can we improve that? I think that as a journalist, you should be curious. You should want to have answers to your questions. And this same kind of instinct, same kind of approach can be used in data and audience insights. This is a great opportunity for the newsroom to use this. And in this particular case, I would say that we had a great discussion on women in the articles. We have started to, in our CMS, where the journalists write their articles, we have an indicator whether the journalists need to press a button. Is this an article that consists of mainly women or mainly men? And we have started to count that, and we have started to make them aware of this. This is a missed business opportunity also.
So it means it's a journalist when writing story, he already thinks who will be the audience, man or women, yes?
No, they describe the content. Is this an article that consists of mainly male individuals or female individuals in this article? So, yeah.
But now, when since you have this system, has the churn between women changed? Is it less now? Do you see already as a result of this change which we implemented?
Yeah, it's always hard to see the causality, what's the cause and what happened, because with the COVID-19 situation, the sports content has gone down, and the number of women has gone up. So it's hard to say, is it as a result of our hard work, or is it a result of the less sports content?
And what regarding push notifications, you mentioned that it was also correlated a lot. Did you change the strategy, and what's the strategy now?
We changed the strategy in the way that we told the newsrooms to think twice before they send out push notifications, because they really like to send out push notifications, and it's a great tool to get users in our apps. But we don't want to push the users over the edge so that they go in their settings and turn off push notifications, because it's very hard for them to turn on push notifications again.
Mm-hmm. So there is Einar's asking, I don't know if it's co-relevant, is can Robin tell more about why so little news are in English in Sweden? Maybe it's not your topic, I don't know.
Can you say that question again?
Why so little news are in English in Sweden?
Okay. Yeah, all our websites, all our newspapers are in Swedish. Sweden is a pretty small country, 10 million people living here. There is a national news service in English, but it's a pretty small English audience in Sweden. I think that we are pretty proficient in English, but Swedish is our native tongue, so we haven't seen any business opportunity in producing content in English.
And another question from Ed, can Robin tell more about the team setup?
Yeah, absolutely. That is one of my favorite subjects, actually. The team.
2 minutes.
Absolutely, the team and the process. I think that, first of all, of course, you have to have goals. You have to know what you want to achieve, and then you have to staff your team accordingly. I know that we will have to hire a lot of more data scientists and software developers over the coming years. We have pretty good amount of journalists. They are at the core, of course, but to be able to compete and to be able to produce the right content, actually, we have to have these kind of new competences within the organization. However, you have to have a central development department, I think. We have 42 local newspapers, but the local newspapers is only consisting of journalists. They are producing the content, whereas I am responsible for the platforms. I'm building the platform with the help of great product owners that have clear goals on how to improve the platform, and the product owners have great software engineers, user experience specialists, data engineers, data scientists, and so on. So I think that you have to ramp up the software development side of things.
So in very short, how big is your team? How many people? And out of these people, how many are data scientists?
Actually, Bonnier News Local, we have 24 engineers, or 24 people in the development department, but Bonnier News as a whole have over 200 people working with development, and unfortunately, just a handful of data scientists. Data scientists are really sought after competence here in Sweden. We have Spotify, that is, and companies like that like to just take all the data scientists in Sweden.
Okay, thank you very much. I hope you will have still some more new and really bright data scientists. Thank you very much, Robin, for your presentation.